wanted to. She could see, though, that one of the dragons down there was pale green with bits of blue and gold and white, and that it had 4 wings, like some of the strange dragons from across the sea. The silk wings, Hazel had called them. Also, it was standing next to what was clearly a nightwing. A nightwing! With one of the weird rainbow dragons. They were working together. Snowfall was right all along. She felt a shiver of fear run along her scales and tried to tamp it down. There were 10 well-armed Icewing soldiers with her. She had the gift of stealth and the gift of strength. That Nightwing was the one who should be scared. The other 2 were Sandwings. Boring. Nothing to... Wait. Snowfall swooped lower and let out a hiss. One of the Sandwings was Jerboa. Jerboa, her Animus dragon. Her Animus, who was supposed to live in a hut all alone and never talk to anyone but the Icewing Queen. Maybe that wasn't exactly what Queen Glacier had said, but something like that. She wasn't supposed to help other Sandwings and weird dragons from across the sea, and she definitely shouldn't be hanging out with a Nightwing. Nightwings had their own Animus dragons. They didn't need Jerboa too. Why was she helping one of them? Or all of them, maybe, actually? So maybe Jerboa was lying about Animus magic being broken because she didn't want to help Icewings anymore, because now she was working with Snowfall's enemies. Snowfall's wings were vibrating with stress and anger and nerves as she crashed onto the beach ahead of the other dragons. The Silkwing bounded toward her with her whole face alight. "Is Blue with you? And Swordtail? Wait, you're not a Silkwing. Sorry. But, oh, Sundew!" She hurried past Snowfall and threw her wings around the frowny Leafwing, who, it turned out, had other expressions besides menacing, such as startled. "Sundew!" the Silkwing cried again, letting her go. "I can't believe you all made it here. Where's Swordtail and Blue?" Sundew's pleased look fell away, and she dug grooves in the sand with her claws. "They're not here, Luna. I'm so sorry." Luna pressed her talons to her face, but before she could burst into tears, Sundew's companion jumped in. "They're still alive, as far as we know," she said. "But Queen Wasp has them. It's a long story." "We're going to get them back," Sundew said fiercely. "I promise you that. Even that slugs for brains Swordtail. We'll figure out how to save them." "Yes," Luna said. "I'm so ready. If you know how to cross the ocean, I'll do it right now." "Crossing the ocean isn't the hard part, unfortunately," Sundew said. Luna's eyes drifted to Cricket, standing behind the Leafwings and holding Bumblebee. She beckoned the yellow and black dragon forward and hugged her too. "Come, tell me all about it," she said, and the 5 of them went up the beach into the hut. Snowfall had only been half listening. Her focus was on Jerboa, and if she could freeze dragons with her eyeballs, the Animus Sandwing would have turned to ice all the way to her bones. The force of the rage in her glare was so strong, she couldn't believe how long it took Jerboa to finally turn and meet her eyes. And then Jerboa didn't even look guilty. She looked annoyed? Tired? Something aggravating. Snowfall stormed up to her. The Nightwing and the other Sandwing had gone down to the water to help the Seawings drag the raft to shore, with lots of yelps and chirps and gleeful reunion noises. There was a small oasis of silence around Jerboa and her little patch of sand. "What are you doing here?" Snowfall growled at her. Jerboa arched one eyebrow. "I live here. What are you doing here?" "Are you working with these dragons?" Snowfall demanded. "Did you give them some magic to help them invade my kingdom?" Jerboa gave her a withering look. "As I am quite sure I have mentioned before," she said, "no one wants to invade your kingdom." "Wrong," Snowfall snapped. "These dragons tried to, and I have driven them out. By myself, I might add, without any help from you." "See?" Jerboa said flatly. I knew you could do it. You just had to believe in yourself. Rah, rah. Why are you helping a Nightwing instead of me? Snowfall asked in a low hiss. I'm not helping anyone, Jerboa said. I've fulfilled my purpose. All I did here is provide some shelter and make an introduction. Although providing shelter to 3 dragons is quite different from sharing my cove with 2 entire tribes. She wrinkled her snout slightly as she looked around at the chaos of dragons engulfing her beach. Tails and talons were churning up the sand. Several dragons were wading in the shallows of the cove, catching fish and crabs and clouding the water with silt. Others had collapsed all along the beach, wings flung out to either side, soaking up the sun. The relieved expressions were back on most of their faces, and some of the silkwings were already gathering coconuts to eat and debating placidly about how to open them. The Nightwing came floundering back up the beach, and Snowfall finally recognized her. It was that interfering little one with the visions, the one Winter liked so much. Moonface or something like that. The one who had been Darkstalker's very best friend when he first came out of the mountain. According to Winter, she'd also been instrumental in stopping Darkstalker, but given the lack of actual evidence, or a body specifically, Snowfall would have liked a specifically, clearly dead body to examine and yell at and stomp on. Snowfall couldn't help but still find her very suspicious. This was a particularly bad Nightwing to find with her animus. Hello, Moonface said breathlessly. You're Queen Snowfall, aren't you? You know perfectly well that I am, Snowfall said coldly. Mind reader. The black dragon had the grace to look a little abashed. It's Moon, actually, she said. Just Moon, not Moonface. Snowfall wished one of the Icewing Animus gifts had been an invulnerability to Nightwing powers. That would have been extremely useful. Why didn't anyone ever think of that? Because they weren't our mortal enemies until they stole Arctic, she remembered. And after that, there were no more Animus gifts. Moon winced and touched her temples. This is a lot of noisy dragons, she said to Jerboa. It certainly is, Jerboa said, eyeing a pair of leaf-winged dragonettes as they tumbled and wrestled along the beach with squeals of joy. Is this what your vision showed you? Sort of, Moon said. But it's only the beginning, I think. Only the beginning? Jerboa looked nearly as annoyed with Moon as she was with Snowfall. Are there a lot more coming? Here? To this beach in particular? No. Wait, actually, I don't know, Moon said. They can stay for now, Jerboa said with a sigh. Until they're ready to move on, which had better be soon. But where do you expect them to end up? I know, cried the other Sandwing, jumping over the dunes toward them in little flying, hopping leaps. I have an idea. Moon, we can take them to Sanctuary. Yes, of course, the Nightwing said, her whole face relaxing. That's perfect. They'll be safe there. That's where Winter is, right? Lynx asked. Moon gave her a curious look. Have we met? I'm Lynx, the Icewing offered. A friend of Winter's. But an even more loyal subject to my excellent one true queen Snowfall right here, of course, she added quickly. Snowfall flicked sand in her face with her tail, and Lynx sneezed. Do you want to come with us? To Sanctuary? Moon asked. I'm sure Winter would be happy to see you, and we could use a few more strong wings to help these dragons get there. Lynx gave Snowfall a hopeful look. We can't sit here for days and days, Snowfall pointed out. It won't be that long, Moon said, catching a look on Jerboa's face. Maybe one day to rest, and we leave the day after tomorrow? Or tomorrow, maybe tomorrow? Night was falling swiftly around them, but for once, Snowfall could watch the stars come out without a sense of suffocating dread. For once, Her scales weren't crawling with the knowledge that Tundra was tip-tapping toward her on cold, judgmental claws. The wall was far, far away, and Snowfall did not have to worry about it for one blissful night. Which could be 2 nights, maybe 3, maybe even 4, if Sanctuary required inspecting or anything like that. The wall wasn't going anywhere. Snowfall would face it again when she returned to the Ice Palace. There was no need to rush back. Queen Glacier had often gone on diplomatic trips or battle missions for days, and the kingdom didn't collapse. Maybe that was why she'd gone away so often, come to think of it. "Fine," Snowfall said to Lynx. "We'll go to Sanctuary, but only so I can make sure my weird, scavenger-obsessed cousin isn't up to anything with all his new other tribe friends." Snowfall shot a glare at Moon, just to clarify exactly who she meant. The tribes settled down to sleep early. The Silkwings, it turned out, could produce some kind of strange silvery stuff from their wrists, and several of them made little hammocks out of it to hang from the trees, then slept in them. It was very weird, and didn't seem like a normal dragon ability to Snowfall at all. Snowfall ordered the other Icewings to choose their own section of beach, some ways off from the other tribes, but still within sight. She set a rotating guard schedule and gave them instructions to keep an eye out for the Nightwing especially. It was mercifully cooler after the sun went down, but still a little too warm for Snowfall's comfort. She stabbed her claws into the sand, digging down and down until she found a cold layer of sand far below the sun-warmed layers on top. This was better. It was no slab of ice, but it would cool her off enough to sleep. She curled into the hole and felt her weapons jab her in the side. The Animus-touched wristbands weighed down her talons, and the tiara was quite uncomfortable to sleep in. But she wasn't about to take any of it off, of course. She might need those knives, or throwing stars, or other knives, or magic strength if someone attacked her in the middle of the night. She was surrounded by enemies here, after all. Well, technically she was surrounded by 10 Icewing soldiers, and then a bunch of enemies. Still. But she could take off the gift of vision at least, since the stupid thing didn't work at all. She tugged on the opal ring to slide it off her claw. It didn't move. Which was odd. Hadn't it felt loose when she first put it on? Snowfall frowned at it. The opal caught the starlight and twinkled cheerfully at her. She tugged on it again. It was definitely stuck. Weird and annoying. With a sigh, she gave up. She was too tired for a wrestling match with an accessory tonight. Tomorrow she'd rub palm oil all over it or something, and then it would slide off easily. Stupid, useless, frustrating, stupid thing. She tucked her nose under her tail, and for the first time in months, she fell asleep within moments. Chapter 6. She is flying. Although her wings feel so heavy, she thinks they might drag her down into the ocean any moment. She has been flying for days and days, and below her there is nothing but treacherous water in every direction, restlessly waiting to swallow her up. Each island is so far away, and some of them are so tiny, it's a miracle anyone spotted them at all. There was one island that was big enough she'd hoped it was the distant kingdoms, but it was empty, and the map said it was only halfway to the other continent. Every morning she lifts into the sky on a new wave of terror, afraid that this will be the day they run out of islands and everyone will drown. They can't turn back. Nobody can. There's only one map. She wouldn't know how to follow the chain of islands all the way back home on her own. And what's behind them is even worse than this. The burning jungle, the white-eyed dragons, the mind control you can catch as easily as breathing in the wrong smoke, someone said. Her wings shiver with terror. She thought she was joining an army. She thought the time for rebellion had finally come, that it was time to be brave and heroic. Io said the chrysalis was going to rise up, join the Leafwings, and fight Queen Wasp for freedom and a better future. But they never had a chance. "Aren't we going to fight them?" she'd asked. No. By the time they reached the poison jungle, everything had changed. Queen Wasp could control Silkwings and Leafwings now. They'd lost before lifting even a single claw. All they could do was run. She couldn't even stop to get her little brother or her placid, perpetually confused grandparents. She'd left them in Yellow Jacket Hive, thinking she'd be home within a day or two to free them with a triumphant Leafwing army. She didn't even